Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know, amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
Sunny Hostin just slipped into a full-scale meltdown, and it was so intense the studio lights looked like they were judging her every move as the chaos unfolded with shocking speed. This wasn't some Mercury in retrograde moment. Greg Gutfeld called her out with such sharp force that even her teleprompter seemed to panic and glitch, like it couldn't keep up with the truth crashing down around her. The hypocrisy spilling out created drama so wild it felt like a reality show imploding in real time, with tissues practically flying as she unraveled faster than a cheap wig blasted through a wind tunnel. Anyone who has ever watched The View could see this showdown forming, yet it still landed with the surprise of a twist you knew was coming but couldn't look away from. And what she said the moment the cameras stopped rolling was so unbelievable it left
Make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
Sunny Hostin finally cracked in a way that went far beyond the usual tiny fractures that happen every day on The View, especially when someone dares to ask a question more complex than what's your favorite color? And this time it turned into a full high-definition meltdown right in front of millions. This wasn't ordinary chaos. This was a 4K Ultra HD emotional collapse, delivered live and powered entirely by Greg Gutfeld, who exposed more contradictions in 2 minutes than the show has managed to ignore in 20 years of pretending everything is fine. The moment he spoke, the calm shattered, and Sunny's composure slipped faster than anyone expected.
So, Sunny, I bet you haven't been in a supermarket since COVID for about 3 years.
I haven't been in a supermarket since COVID. For about 3 years. That's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue I think for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs. You know those big Bounty towels you don't want to carry.
Those from Costco.
Somebody else goes.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, I'm an but at least I tip.
It all started like any ordinary Tuesday on The View, which means the opening felt less like a talk show and more like a loud group therapy session filled with big affirmations, cheerful backpats, and the usual shared belief that they were once again saving democracy one dramatic moment at a time. Sunny Hostin, who steps into the role of legal expert with the same energy a teenager brings to Guitar Hero, enthusiastic yet completely off-key, was front and center as always, offering deep-sounding insights that boiled down to everything bad being someone else's fault, and facts mattering only if spoken loudly and passionately enough to drown out real logic. The whole setup made the moment she slipped even more intense.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took the news.
If you've never watched The View, just picture the comment section of a political Facebook page brought to life and hosted by people who once skimmed a Wikipedia article about the Constitution and decided that made them instant experts, creating a mix of loud opinions and shaky confidence that somehow passes for discussion. Sunny fits perfectly into that world, taking on the role of the group's voice of reason. If your definition of reason includes shouting threat to democracy anytime someone challenges her latte-powered worldview, turning every disagreement into a dramatic battle cry that feels bigger than it actually is.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
But then everything shifted because sweet karma arrived the moment Greg Gutfeld jumped into the conversation, and that's when the situation exploded into pure chaotic entertainment that no one on that set was ready for. Greg isn't polished in the traditional sense. He's more like the bold guest at a dinner party who says the things everyone secretly thinks but is too cautious to actually speak out loud. And Sunny had no idea that sarcasm was still perfectly legal in most places. The second he started pointing out her greatest hits of contradiction, she folded like a flimsy deck chair in a storm, unable to keep her balance under the weight of her own words. Sunny has this magical ability to demand calm conversation while recently labeling half the country as a roaming pack of democracy-destroying goblins, which only works if everyone agrees with her completely, because otherwise she acts like you're helping commit a terrible crime. Her logic blends courtroom drama with middle school lunchroom energy in the most chaotic way possible. And Greg didn't stop there. He dug even deeper, pulling up receipts like he was auditing her entire public record. One moment she's condemning family separations at the border, and the next moment when her preferred leaders do the exact same thing, it suddenly becomes a complicated policy matter that regular people simply couldn't understand, turning her contradictions into something she might as well embroider on a decorative pillow for everyone to see.
Oh, I'm gonna milk this till the end of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm gonna go, slave owner! Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Really? Do you think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing.
Greg laid everything out with sharp precision, showing how Sunny's outrage works like a light switch. Flipped on the moment a conservative sneezes, and flipped off when a liberal stumbles through the Constitution like it's a maze they've never seen before. She's the type who demands investigations into the ethics of someone's tweets while defending politicians who couldn't spell ethics, even if you handed them the E, the T, and a dictionary, making the whole thing feel like a comedy sketch that accidentally turned serious. The audience at The View reacted exactly as expected, cheering like loyal fans at a concert, even though Greg could have handed them a scrapbook filled with Sunny's contradictions, signed by Sunny herself, and they still would have booed him for spreading negativity. Naturally, Sunny did what every modern TV personality is trained to do. She played the victim with dramatic speed, using a trembling voice and the polished tears of someone who has attended media training more than once this year, transforming Greg's criticism into an emotional attack on women, minorities, and possibly every rescue puppy on the planet. When you can't win the argument, you make the battlefield bigger, and Sunny stretched it so far that emotion became her only weapon, turning the moment into a spectacle of pure dramatic survival.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well, they want to make sure that their sons do well, they want to make sure that their children do well, and they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there.
Sunny, who has spent years tossing harsh labels at millions of Americans from her comfortable ABC seat, suddenly broke into tears because someone finally pointed out that she contradicts herself more often than a motivational speaker who keeps changing their message every 5 minutes, creating a moment that felt like emotional gymnastics gone wild. It was the kind of dramatic display that would earn a gold medal if the judges scored based on pure lack of self-awareness. And The View reacted instantly by circling the wagons like an old Western scene, only this time they were protecting her from the terrifying danger of being fact-checked on live television. Whoopi Goldberg even delivered an energetic pep talk that basically suggested facts are flexible as long as you feel strongly enough about what you're saying, turning the whole situation into a performance of emotional loyalty rather than truth. Behind the scenes, producers supposedly worried about Sunny's emotional state, treating a simple call-out of hypocrisy like a life-changing crisis, even though politicians and public figures get criticized on national TV daily without falling apart. You'd think Sunny would be used to it after all these years, but this moment hit differently for her, adding even more intensity to her dramatic reaction.
Joy Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast. So Scott had to deal with Sunny Hostin and her typical self-righteousness.
This moment turned explosive because Greg Gutfeld dared to point out that the Emperor had no clothes, while Sunny cried into her designer coffee mug like the truth itself was too sharp to handle, creating a scene that spread across social media in minutes. Twitter erupted with memes, including one brutal edit calling her strong opinions, weak spine, and another mocking her as a hater crying on The View with the caption, "When you realize receipts don't lie," showing how fast the internet can turn a meltdown into a spectacle. Even people who normally avoid political drama notice the irony, because when you preach about civility while insulting half the country, the contradictions tend to stick in people's minds like glue. Meanwhile, Greg's segment skyrocketed online, his calm, sarcastic breakdown connecting with everyone tired of being fed the same recycled cable news talking points each week, making the moment feel like a breath of fresh clarity. It exposed The View not as a debate show, but as a live-action Tumblr thread with professional lighting, where everyone agrees on the choreography beforehand, and anyone brave enough to jump in makes waves big enough to earn instant boos from the crowd, turning the entire situation into unforgettable chaos.
But unlike this chick, we didn't think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. Although it did get Joy Behar to wear a mask. You make me sick. It's funny, her being named Joy is like me being named Ugly.
What made the whole situation even more entertaining was watching The View scramble to reframe the disaster, suddenly insisting this drama had nothing to do with Sunny's long list of contradictions, and everything to do with protecting women from supposed public attacks, turning a simple call-out into a grand emotional mission. They treated pointing out hypocrisy like it was some kind of federal offense, twisting the narrative until criticism sounded like a crime against humanity, even though anyone watching could see the truth shining through. The show has become a safe bubble for ideas that never survive real adult discussion, a place where Sunny Hostin and her co-hosts avoid genuine debate like it's something dangerous, choosing instead to run a daily self-esteem seminar disguised as political talk, filled with dramatic sighs and emotional speeches. The moment someone brings logic, consistency, or even a little sarcasm into the room, everything collapses like a cheap umbrella caught in a storm, and Sunny's meltdown was bound to happen after years of stacking contradictions higher and higher. Greg Gutfeld simply sneezed, metaphorically, and the entire tower of mixed messages crumbled in front of the audience, leaving her exposed in a way she never expected.
Did you watch the whole thing or just the parts that I sent you?
I watched it. Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off.
Yes.
When she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism.
And of course, because no modern meltdown is ever complete without a dramatic rebranding, Sunny launched into a teary speech about personal growth and the bravery of being vulnerable, trying to turn the moment into something inspirational, even though everyone could see what was really happening. In simple terms, it meant please forget that she was caught twisting her own principles on live TV, like she was playing a game with rules only she understood, hoping the emotional angle would bury the truth. It was almost impressive watching The View transform a clear exposure of double standards into a lesson about healing and empowerment, as if they were directing a new Marvel movie called The Gaslight Assemble, filled with dramatic pauses and emotional monologues. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld kept winning without even trying. No shouting, no anger, just that calm smirk that drives the easily offended absolutely wild because he understands the pattern perfectly. The moment you point out the Emperor has no clothes, they accuse you of attacking body positivity, twisting the story until it becomes something entirely different. Poor stuck in a loop now, because every time she tries to climb back onto her moral high ground, people bring up that moment when she melted faster than butter in a microwave after being confronted with her own words, turning her into a walking meme she can't escape.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
Sunny's emotional collapse became a perfect example of what happens when constant manipulation finally runs into real accountability, creating a moment so revealing it felt almost symbolic of the show itself. In a fair world, The View would use this chance to reflect and maybe consider inviting guests with different viewpoints, allowing true debate and relearning how to talk like adults without needing a dramatic fainting routine every time someone disagrees. But the chances of that happening are about as likely as Sunny Hostin winning a major award for political bravery. Instead, the show will probably double down with emotional support animals, guided breathing segments, and a 3-part series about why feelings matter more than facts, shaping the drama into something comforting rather than honest. Sunny will keep mistaking altitude for more, like standing on the highest emotional hill automatically makes her right, while giving passionate speeches about truth, even as she avoids anything resembling truth like it's radioactive. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld will continue doing what he does best, calmly reminding everyone that the Emperor isn't just standing there without clothes. He's demanding applause for his invisible outfit, creating a contrast that only makes Sunny's moment look even more dramatic.
More time to talk. And I thought Will Smith wouldn't let a black man finish. If her IQ was half as high as her smugness, she'd be Einstein. And later it got weird after Whoopi Goldberg asked a question and Sunny chimed in again.
If nothing else, Sunny's meltdown delivered a surprising gift to everyone watching, a clear, unforgettable reminder that hypocrisy eventually collapses under its own weight, no matter how long someone tries to hide it behind dramatic speeches and emotional outbursts. You can only mislead yourself and your audience for so long before reality catches up and someone finally points and laughs. And this time, the laughter echoed across the internet with incredible speed. Sunny Hostin's televised breakdown wasn't just about being exposed or even about politics. It was about the unavoidable collision between fragile egos, exaggerated outrage, and the solid, unshakable wall of truth that doesn't move no matter how loudly you yell at it. The View spun the wheel of drama once again, and this time it landed squarely on public embarrassment, leaving Sunny to face the fallout while everyone else watched in disbelief as her carefully built image cracked right on camera.